Okay, so our next video is with a compound interest formula. So we're just going to read through and make sense of this formula, and then we will use it coming up in our next example. So interest is calculated in two ways: simple interest and compound interest. Simple interest is interest paid only on the principal. Principal is a deposit or an investment. Compound interest is interest that is paid both on the principal and on the interest that has already been paid. The compound interest formula is an exponential growth function. So the way that I think about this is, well, okay, I guess I'll talk about that in a second. It's coming up down at the bottom. So here's our formula, compound interest formula. You can already see it looks a little bit more complicated, but it is an exponential formula because of our variable time in years is an exponent. So we have A equals, A is going to be the amount paid. P is the principal amount. Again, that is a deposit or an investment. Maybe we should make that note. Just so if we're reading an example, we would look for a deposit or an investment. R is the interest rate. We will write that as a decimal. N is the number of times per year the interest is compounded. So the way that I think about that, the interest being compounded, is how many times a year is the interest calculated. So that word compounded is it's a new word for us in math. So just think compound interest. How many times in a year are we calculating the interest on the account or the investment? And then T is going to be our time in years. So we have a graph over here just to kind of show the difference. The graph below shows $10 that was deposited or invested at 5% simple interest. So you can see the 5% simple interest is this kind of the straight line right here, or increasing very slightly. It's kind of hard to tell. And 5% interest compounded quarterly. So when it says compounded quarterly, we would calculate the interest 4 times in a year. That N over here would be a 4 in our formula. And you can see is as the years go on, I think this is our time down here, we're calculating interest 4 times a year. So we're going to increase more rapidly than just a simple interest formula. Because after you compound the interest the first time, now you have more in the account. And then you compound the interest the second time, well, now you're calculating interest on a larger amount. And that happens every time. Every time you calculate the interest, that value gets added into the total amount in the investment or in the account or whatever the case may be.